Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is brought to you by, well, the same thing that every other video is brought to you by: my poor financial decisions and also my crippling addiction to Facebook Marketplace and eBay. So we are back. Well, this is really the only full project we're working on right now, but back on the 56 Bel Air. If you've been following along in the last couple of videos, we repaired our quarter panels, our doors that came with the car. They are now actually hung on the car, and it's starting to look like something. And as promised, today is going to be rocker panels. So I'm going to put this down, attempt to get off the car without it falling apart, and we'll dive in. Okay, so this is what came with the car. Now this is, I think this is a rocker skin, possibly, this panel that's on here. It actually is in pretty decent shape. But the issue is, so this flange that was crudely, actually looks like someone maybe just bent a piece of steel up and welded it on there. Anyway, your floor pan is usually supposed to butt up to the rocker panel, and that'll get welded all across that seam. And then the bottom side goes to your inner rocker panels, which somebody took the liberty of deleting them on this car. So I'm going to cut out this old rocker skin, and we're going to try and go, I guess, just about even with this line. So we'll remove all this. Now over here, the rocker panel should actually fit underneath this lip here. So I'm going to have to be careful not to cut that out. I'll take, actually, yeah, somebody put some zip screws in. So maybe I'll cut those out. Cut these little spot welds here, see if we can remove that, and then we'll take our time cleaning up the door jamb over here so that the new rocker can fit in. So I'm going to get some eyewear and we'll start cutting the next piece of metal out. So the rocker skin is out. There, yep, right out of rocker panel, 56, 57 Chevy. I'm not sure if somebody cut. So there's supposed to be, like I said before, the seam along here that gets mated up to the floor. I don't know if someone cut that off or if it is just a skin like I originally thought, but either way, that's out. What was supposed to be the inner rocker is also out. But there is the factory inner rocker. And underneath there, that's a floor brace, was a floor brace. And what was supposed to be the floor. But who needs that? You have just flat sheet metal. And there's a lot of flex in this thing. It actually just looks like it's this section. I guess, so a little bit further underneath the car, the floor braces are actually still attached and on the body mounts. There's not much left, but I guess that's why the whole car hasn't folded in half yet, or at least I don't see the roof buckling. But yeah, that's good. And actually, I think we have a little bit of a piece of the factory outer rocker right there. Yep, that's where it tucks in underneath. I don't know if I should cut this out. Maybe I'll just leave it because it might be adding a little bit of strength. I don't know. But we'll clean this up. I gotta get this flange bent up a little bit and probably clean out whatever is inside there, because I'm sure there's still remnants of the old rocker panel. So we'll start getting this trimmed up, and we can start fitting our panel in, hopefully. And the last video on the quarter panels, obviously I left this portion off, so once, well, the doors fit up now, but once the rocker panel is in, we can kind of just match this up and then trim out the door jamb, weld it up, and we'll grind that flush, but that'll be later on. For now, let's figure out what we're doing with this mess. All right, guys, so I got a decent amount of trimming done. I'll turn it around so you can see here. I cut back the old floor braces just to give myself enough room to fit the new panel in. Cleaned this up here, get the light on so you can see, as best I could. Still needs a fair bit of sanding. And the old inner rocker is actually still stuck in there. I'll bring you guys underneath so you can see. Hopefully the light's not creating too much of a glare. It's a little difficult to see, but you can kind of make out there's a lip almost on the inside of this dog leg here. And that's part of our old outer rocker panel. And it also goes up inside here. So all of that still has to get cut out. This piece here, I believe, stays. So I'm going to take the old flange off, which is this piece here. So I'm going to get rid of that. The old piece of rocker up here, we'll clean up in there. And then hopefully once that's out, we can start to fit the new rocker panel. So the piece that's inside there now, there's also a flange up top, and that is the remaining piece of this rocker. So this whole inner piece here, which creates your door sill, actually fits up inside of that dog leg there. So all of that's got to get trimmed out in order for us to fit the new panel in. And there's really, I could barely bring the camera in here to show you guys. So I'm gonna start cutting, grinding, get all this cleaned up. There's a little bit still that has to be trimmed on the back, by the back of the door. So we'll do that, and then hopefully we can start to fit this panel up inside there, figure out exactly where it needs to be, and then weld it in. Now the other thing is I think I'm gonna coat as much of this as I possibly can in that Rust-Oleum product. Basically paint over it. It's supposed to encapsulate the rust. Can't spray everything because you're still going to need to weld to this, so I may just run a piece of tape over that, but we'll take care of that when we get there. For now, let me start cleaning this out. All right, so a couple hours later, but I got everything cleaned out. I think we're ready to fit the rocker up. Let me show you what we got so far. Inside there, you can actually see where the door hinge attaches, but I got everything cleaned out, and it's not down to bare metal as much as I'd like. I still have a little bit more work to do. But I want to get the rocker in there, fitted up, and once I know that I've clearanced enough, I'll take it back out, clean up in there. I'm going to spray some of that Rust-Oleum up there for whatever I can't reach with a spray can or a brush. And then the back was pretty much cut out already. I think I'm actually missing a good portion of this flange that kind of comes down and meets the top of the rocker here. But if I can at least get it in the car and lined up with the door, then I think we'll be in business, and I can always add metal to that. But if I could just get it tacked in where it's supposed to be, I think we'll be in good shape. So let's get this rocker fit up and see how far off we are. All right, so I just tossed a self-tapper in the front corner here so we can close the door. And then on this side, I just have a cleco through our quarter patch and also through the rocker. Now, if you watched the last video on the quarters, I said that I was leaving this unwelded because I wanted to get the door on, fit the rocker up, and then once we have the gaps set close enough, I'll go back and trim out the rest of this door jamb, and then we can weld everything up. So let's back this up, close the door, and see how we look. So we're lined up pretty well with the front of the door on that side. And then back here, obviously we have a big gap, but I can still push that in a fair amount. I think we're pretty close. Yeah, this sinks in a little bit. So what I may end up doing is trimming that rocker back a little bit. There's actually like a register inside that the quarter is supposed to slip over. But you could see even with the pin in there, there's a little bit of gap up top. So that may not be as accurate as it should be, but worst case, I can just cut that in the back, and then we can kind of work the quarter panel onto the rocker. That way it'll be a little bit easier without that piece of metal back there. Or even if I just cut the top, it'll give us something on the bottom, add a little bit of strength, and then I can kind of just work this in and fit that up. But with that quarter pushed in like that, getting pretty good. All right, I'm gonna open the door back up. I'm gonna clean up the door jamb. We'll get all that old paint off front and back. And then maybe I'll put a clamp from the outside of the quarter to the inside. We'll drag that in. I can cut the flange, throw a couple tack welds on that, check fitment again. I don't want to buzz the entire thing in and then find out that we're off. So if I have 1 or 2 tacks, worst case, I can always cut it. But I think that's going to be the plan. So I'm going to put you guys down, clean the door jamb up, do a little bit of welding, come back, check fitment again. Once the quarter is flush with the door, we can focus on this little joint here where the quarter meets the rocker. But I think the side's almost done, guys. All right, did skip ahead a little bit. Started welding the quarter into the inner door jamb, welded the rocker to the lip there. Front, I still haven't done anything with, just held in with the self-tapper for now. I want to get the final adjustment on that, and I'm going to have to be careful welding that because that metal is not in good shape. I may end up cutting that out and welding a new piece in, but rocker's in. Obviously, once the floor is in and butted up against this flange, it'll add a good amount of strength to it. But close the door here. Shut the welder off real quick. There you go. It looks pretty good. Gaps are okay, not great, but I'm pretty happy with it. The side of this car is really starting to come together now, which I'm really happy with. So I'm done for the night. I have work early in the morning. I'm going to throw a quick coat of primer on that just to protect it. Well, obviously it's inside, but let's get a coat of primer on that and be back at it tomorrow. Obviously we have a lot of work to do inside. So I'll have to grind this flush, finish weld it. I got to finish taking all the old paint off the door jamb. I want to get that nice and smooth. It's really starting to get some structure back in it. So definitely a good thing. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Okay, next day, I want to extend the dog leg or the inner quarter panel, I guess, down to the rocker panel. Now, I believe it ends right about where this tape line is. Whatever was there has long since rotted away. So I just took a piece of painter's tape and my X-Acto knife just to get a rough shape. I'm going to have to figure out a way to kind of bend this so that curvature matches, and then we could tack that in all the way around, and that'll add a little bit of strength. I also have to make something up for that. I'll probably end up doing that in 2 pieces. I'll do a small section there and then another flat piece here, and we'll weld that all up, kind of grind it smooth. Did weld the rest of the quarter panel up. Still needs a little bit of grinding, but that's nice and solid now. So yeah, I'm gonna lay this out on some fresh sheet metal. We'll get that cut up, bent, and we can start welding that in. So I added a little bit of metal to that, extended that dog leg down to the rocker on the front, and or actually the back and the front up there. So this rocker is done. And I actually turned the car around in the garage so I can now do the driver's side. So we're going to close this door, push the car back in a little bit, and we'll get started on the other side. Okay, so I have the driver's side rocker fitted up and welded in. Now we have the same issue on this side that we had on the passenger side, where some of what was rotted out, obviously we're going to have to make up for that. So we're going to focus on extending this dog leg down to about here. There's a small ridge on the rocker. So we'll make a panel for that, weld that in, and then we're going to need to do probably a couple pieces back here just to make everything one piece and fit up nicely. So we'll get started on that. Okay, both sides are closed out. So this rocker is 100% in. Nice and solid. The whole car moves with it. So we put a good amount of strength back in the body of this car, which I'm really happy about because, like I've mentioned before, this car is not far away from coming off the frame and getting the floor cut out of it. So one step closer. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. If you want to see more of this car, please consider subscribing, and we'll catch you in the next video.